Hello, everybody. Hello. Happy Impeachment Day. They made the announcement about 10 minutes ago. I'm Julia Block. I'm really excited to welcome you to the Kelly Writers House for tonight's reading, which is sponsored by the Creative Writing Program. I want to make a quick announcement, which is that about a month from now, we're going to also be celebrating our most beloved Lorene Carey and the release of her new memoir right in this space at 6 p.m. on Wednesday, October 23rd. So please save the date for that if you can. There will also be a situation involving an opera related to Lady Sitting, the memoir. So we're really excited about that. It might involve bringing a piano into the space, Skyping with the composer. Also, it's classic Lorene. We invited her and wanted to host this event for her, and she proceeded to make all of these other wonderful things happen herself on top of our planning. She made all these other things happen. So tonight we're going to be hearing from AIREA D. Matthews and Laura Mullen. I'm going to introduce AIREA, and then AIREA's reading will be followed by Laura Mullen's, and Laura will be introduced tonight by Rachel Zolf. The poems in AIREA D. Matthews' first book, Simulacra, are shot through with clipped verses, lyricized narratives, and fantastical prose visions. Mouths cut on crystal goblets, molars ground to dust and used to bread zucchini, a mother and daughter resting on the pillow of a father's bottom lip. Sekhmet splashing water in her eyes to smother a fire, and Sexton texting Tituba, Narcissus tweeting from a smartphone. When the speaker in the poem Meeting Anne Sexton tells us, "I know how I got here, and yet I have no idea how I got here," it's a kind of gesture toward the intertextual nature of Matthews's whole book, which ranges from Wittgenstein and the stalled temporality of the sonnet to Gertrude Stein's tender buttons and the seductive affects of Baudrillard's simulacra and simulation. An epigraph from Baudrillard frames the title and, of course, the whole collection, so that at every turn, Matthews's poems seem to question shared experience, even when they are their most vivid. The first module in a poem called Select Passages from the Holy Writ of Us opens, "In the beginning was pussy and it was good. Now the earth was formless and barren inside her deep." And a few lines later, "Flesh is a constant haunting. And since every womb conceives a haint, life starts an empty egg." I'm openly struck by the way these poems hold space for both the impossibly physical and the dauntingly illegible, how we can know how we got here at the same time that we have no idea. AIREA Matthews is the author of Simulacra, which is winner of the 2016 Yale Series of Younger Poets. Her work has appeared in Best American Poets, Callaloo, Harvard Review, Los Angeles Review of Books, and elsewhere. And her awards and honors include a Rona Jaffe Writers Foundation Award, a Kresge Literary Arts Award, and fellowships from Cave Canem. Her current projects include a cross-genre book that explores politics, poverty, race, and class. She's an assistant professor at Bryn Mawr College and a founding member of the Philadelphia-based Riven Collective, a multidisciplinary arts collaborative. Please help me welcome AIREA Matthews to the Clay Writers House.
I am once again thrilled to be here. I was telling Julia, I went to Penn, I graduated in '94, and I was telling Julia that I remember when this house was a frat house, I thought, many years ago, and there were a bunch of frat houses up and down Locust Walk. And so I'm glad to see it being put to good use for writers. This is a lovely reuse project. I'm happy to be here tonight. I was here a couple weeks ago, and I was reading some new work, and I just feel like I want to get back into Simulacra. The collection, I can't follow all of the beautiful things that Julia said, but the collection really does concern itself with an anti-confession. How do you confess a thing without admitting it? And it's always been interesting to me as a concept. And so Anne Sexton has always been a big part of my writing life and an inspiration for me. And I feel like she's squarely inside of my lineage. But there are markers inside of her work that I didn't want to repeat, including making myself that available inside of the lyric, as available as she did. So I was curious to know what would happen if one wrote the anti-confession. And so I did. Here we go. Rebel Prelude. In the garden or our bedroom, we'd made love or fought about bushes, hydrangea or rhododendron, purple ivies climbing our back fence, opal basil wilting. One of us had forgotten to water her, or was it autumn and she was dying on her own? Either way, the infested pepper dangling by frayed browning stem threads caught our attention. How did that parasite get inside? You mumbled something about larvae, but I knew it was a winged thing, a puncture, a black and wicked door. The mine owner's wife. The bone china had been laid out, the napkins threadbare, antiqued, yellowing. One gold-rimmed plate with butter in the trench. The wife asked, "How was your day?" His coal mine mouth shaft widened to make an utterance, managed only soot and one canary. Canaries' wings, blackened and broken, tangled in the web above their heads, suspended in the chandelier's pendulogue. A spider-eyed dinner sharpened its knife claw. The mine owner dragged his fork's sharpened tine against his lip, rent his tongue. He bled all over the napkin, made pink the butter dish. His wife handed him her goblet. He wrung his tongue over her glass, spilled garnet into her bowl, filled his flute. They toasted. And this every single night. I grew up in a household in which addiction played a big part of my upbringing. My father was a heroin addict. And the way that they pronounced heroin, this is in the 70s, the way that they pronounced heroin, it sounded like heron. And I thought it was a bird. I literally thought my father was imbibing a bird. Heron. I thought it was a bird. Skimmed rush, hush, as before a fowl fixes its head up from shadow water, sickened by its own nature. Narcissus reversed. Unfortunate predatory consequence. The luck. Heron spots two ducklings nesting on an outcrop of rocks. Swift-like, heron bounces off the lake, a hollowed pebble in one swallow. Babes go down, pulsing inside heron's throat until they succumb. Mama mallard squawks and plods, helpless she flies low, away. How long do mother ducks mourn? Until the next day, next month, until pitch pines shake barren or a naked beggar shakes on his kitchen floor like Brescia in a rain stick begging 2 bird bags, 4 quarters, 1 gram. His daughters, empty cupboards, offer open tin at his feet. Eat, Papa, eat, until heron comes. When sick, foul fit in veins like ducks in necks, vortex of sorts. Some knew this, yet none bothered to explain how heron made him fly, why heron made him, well, less starved. From the pocket of his lip. Smoke rose under my father's tongue. There, a strange man with an oboe sat on the ridge of his tooth, playing wide vibratos through nimbus fog. I asked why he was there too. Fine-tuning the orchestra of lies. I nodded. They play beautifully, don't they? Especially in your key. Hum for me. And so I hummed for many years. Rebel opera. The opening scene begins inside the father's mouth, mother and daughter resting on the pillow of his bottom lip after daily brushing and flossing his one remaining tooth. Act 1. Daughter. How do we get the fuck out of here? Mother. Let's not discuss, dear. No one has ever tried, and watch your mouth. Oboist sounds the note. Orchestra tunes to standard pitch. Daughter. But what do we eat? Mother, we eat whatever he eats. We eat whatever we catch. Daughter clutches her growling stomach. I'm starving. Mother, so is he. We all are, especially those outside. They'll consume anything out there. Safer here. Catches a wren that flies in his mouth. Oboist sets the key in C minor. Orchestra plays Schubert's Wanderer Fantasy. Daughter, I can't stay inside. I'm claustrophobic. Paces and tries to distract herself with erratic movement. Mother, no exceptions. He's sick, you know. The virus. Brushes her hair. Daughter, that virus? The one carried in fluids? We'll get it too. Haven't you noticed the rains? Opens her umbrella. Mother, it doesn't work like that. We inherit the cause, not the illness. Daughter, drugs? Needles? Blood? Drops umbrella and thumbs through her purse for a loose white pill. Mother, jaws without hinges. Want moves between or up or down or through the bloodline. Desire is spacious. Wants in the DNA. Oboist nods. Orchestra increases tempo. Daughter, I can't. I won't. I've got to break free from this low rent bullshit. As she grinds a pill to snort dust with a platinum card. Father swallows. Fade to black. Pious. In dreams, Mary comes draped beneath a veil, Dead Sea breaking at her feet, arms outstretched in that maternal welcoming. She wades waist deep, covers her scars, not wanting to scare the children, every mother's duty. Keep the unholy origins hidden, those hauntings quiet. Like her, I cloak my immaculates in robes, send them off to learn. Soon they'll wonder, though, about the white detritus on my tongue when they come home, as I nod off mid-endearment, weighing hope against their smiles, our heavy goodnights before the tiny Mary in my well shakes her bottle full of pills, beckoning, take, eat, in remembrance. And who am I not to answer my own heritable call? Confessions from here. I left our window open most nights. A man with winged ankles would visit while you slept. He'd ask about my doings, how the Syra finished, notice the dimple on my chin when I smiled, touch the thick swell of my waist lightly. When the wind whistled like the northeast corridor, he tongued the small of my back before leaving. After 2 most mornings, I wailed a tempest that last time, flooded our basement, asked him to stay or carry me over. He tucked me in the crook of his elbow and flew here, where I am now. When you woke the next morning, I imagine you thought it rained the night before. You called the plumber, didn't you? To fix the basement swollen from squalls? Did you dig your fingernail under the blistering cinder? Check for mold? Did the walls crumble? When you asked the children where their mother was, did they shrug? Bounce my name between rooms? Weep into their porridge? If they beat their bare feet against the cracked tiles in the hallway, did you notice those tiny feathers sprouting from their Achilles' heels? Did you wrinkle your brow? Grab your shears? Can. From Wittgenstein's Lost Black Book. I should say this about Wittgenstein. I have much respect for that dude. He wrote the Tractatus, I believe, in the late 20s, maybe it was 29. And by the time that his next book was published, maybe early 50s, maybe 53, Philosophical Investigations, he basically upended everything that he said in the first book. He decided that he had a different understanding of how language works. Can. Explain the word can. Can a machine be lonely? Man as cog lightning widget, vast industrial tiny, glossed conveyor belt enabler. Day laborers may argue machines can't be other than machines. But what are the hours of day laborers? What if lonely happens at night? Keen blooms. We only ever know what we've seen. I'll say no more about this now.
Can you run your nimble finger down a missed spine thread at 3 a.m.? How do you know?
I was reading many years ago, and I've got to find the poem now, this book of not book of poems, this book of letters that Simone de Beauvoir wrote back and forth to Sartre. And I remember as I was reading them, I was thinking to her, run, run. But she didn't. Letters to my would-be lover on dolls and repeating. Dear, Girl Scout for 2 years, then I quit. I can tie 37 types of knots. I can untie none of them. Dear, I don't understand when you wrote, I am full of shit, imbalanced, and you can't stand me. I don't want to be presumptuous, so I'll just wait to hear back. I have a tendency to read into things. Dear, things are a language. I once read that in a horribly written book. When mother neglected me, she'd buy me a doll. I hated dolls, yet there was something oddly comforting in getting the thing I didn't want. I'd opt for Barbie, of course. I'd get home and pile her into her pink Barbie dream house with the others. I didn't even bother prying the box tethers off her neck. I liked them. They reminded me of a noose. Dear, a faith healer, psychic, medium, pagan evangelist told me I could raise dead things. I don't actually know what that means. Seems selfish to rouse someone from eternal slumber because I'm sleepwalking. Dear, I never asked your name. May I call you Lazarus? Dear, 11, lost it to a Ken doll. Don't tell anyone. It was one of those secrets shared between childhood friends. Whenever she slept over, we'd take our hard Kens and rub their smooth plastic heads against our pussies. I could hear her moan. I feigned sighing. My fingers knew me better. I needed something more from Ken. I took him into me, up to the shoulders. When I pulled him out, blood from his head dripped down his torso. Ken had that same picket-tooth smile, pinkish though, none the worse for wear. And I swear I felt him breathing. Dear, not much to tell. I stockpiled that one with all the Barbies. Once I'd had him, he was of no use to me anymore. Dear, same as yours. Father was a moody bastard genius, and I don't know if I blame drugs or schizophrenia. I do know I worry. Lunacy is genetic, I'm told. Anyway, I'm off to pick up some Shiraz and my prescriptions. Nothing serious. One to stay awake, one to fall asleep, one to feel normal, one to feel. All right, I'm going to do 2 more poems and then I'm going to take my leave. One of which is a choreo poem with my son. You ready, Russ? Right answer. So I'm going to give you some background on this poem. I wrote this poem as a Facebook status, which I promptly took down when I realized that people did not recognize my genius. So, just a joke. But actually, I did take it down because I was like, this would make a good poem. I was thinking about Gertrude Stein and Tender Buttons, and I was thinking about how the language and the kind of the rhetorical devices that she uses inside of her work. And I was thinking, my grandmother actually used to talk like that. And then I wondered how much of her writing style was actually appropriative from Southern Black speech, kind of the paratactical technique and like what the styles that she was using. And I also thought about their lifestyles. I mean, Gertrude Stein was a daughter of a railroad millionaire. Her family made money on the railroads. And my grandmother, who spoke the same way and probably would have written the same way had she been literate, was a disabled crossing guard and died that way. Couple notes. My grandmother, when she moved up north, she moved in the Great Migration. She moved to Newark, New Jersey. She couldn't marry my grandfather, but they fell in love and had a daughter. My grandfather was Sicilian. He came over through Ellis Island. My grandmother had no more than a 5th grade education. If my late grandmother were Gertrude Stein. 1, Southern migration. Leech, broke speech, leaf ain't pruning, pot, lay, lie, hair, straight off, arrowed branch and horse joint, elbow ash, roe fish, roe dog, slow milk pig, blue water sister, hogs like willow.
Weep crow, weep cow, soul bug, soul narrow, inches away, over the bridge, back that way. Fur. Fur, needles in coal, black hole, black out, black feet blame, long way still, not there. There, here, same. Two, feed the soul. Old crow, liquor, drink, drunk, girdle, grits, grit, tea, get shaved, shooked, shucked, shit, flour, lard and swallow, hard edge, chew, chip, tooth, bite, tool chip, bite, bloat, blight, seat, blight, sit, tea, be light, city. Downtown, dim, slight, dark, old arc, new work, nork. Lark fed, cornbread, bed feather back, Sunday shack, church fat, grease glove, dust rub, cheap heeled shoe, window seat, mirror eye, window, when though, wind blow, November, December, no cinder, no slumber, no summer, branch, branched, blanched, fried, freed, fly, want what, graves want. 3, miscegenation. Good, smooth, curly-haired baby, rockabye my baby, mama rockabye her baby, wrestle the earth, baby, no, dirt, shine, neck, porcelain, tin, tarnish, powder, milk, pout her, milk, powder, silk, inheritance. Front the wash tub, top the bed, bin, leaky numbers, run on. Red fever holds your palm, sweat it out. Hot, heat the rest. Pretty melt that wax, wide flower. Ellis Island, daddy, oh, daddy's bar. Band, mongrel hum. Come now, little bones bend, old crack, creak, crank, crick, curly Q. Fuck them. Then fuck them. You hear me? Walk through, good-haired baby. Half of you belong. 4, on Gertrude Stein. Who? Bills Mount Picasso. Who? Matisse. Who? Mortgage, no currency, canvas, pay brushes, stroke, bridge, brittle, blend, 10 miles, daybreak, 10 miles, they break, we broke. No brick, widgets in the envelope, no railroad, green, agriculture, pea snap, earth under nails, spine and stilt, woman, roach kill, heal, woman, roaches in the crawl, woman, creep, keep, 5th grade, everywhere, where, everywhere, we're everywhere, anyhow. We sacrifice and hammer, they sacrifice the hammer, never. Axe and hatchet make callous, hard hand, prison pen, privilege, pin, bar, thorn, pin, pine, cross, crown, wait. Iron is harder. Chicken fat can is full of spark kill or sparkle or spark cull. Spark cull, ho. Heave, ho. Heave, holy. Heavy, light's genius. That is that, Gertrude. Who? And last. Rebel Fugue. No, we're reading it together.
Together?
Yes, it's a choreo poem that I just choreographed 2 seconds ago.
Wait, do you want to do the left side?
I'm do this side, you do that side, and we read together.
Okay, so we
Just go with the flow. Rebel Fugue. It's possible to fall into jet bile currents following the synchronous thrums of trembling hands, seduced by godless sway. After all, there's no need to bring cosmology into this. Flail limbs against walls, exhaust both pain and pleasure, and should what swallowed us not quite kill us, balance on the fissured ashen tongue, and live in violet.
In terrible love with burning double meters, Kalinda Bama bodies gentle gestures to the drummers, swollen against stretched membranes. Moments forgetting Lucifer too was a beautiful musician. One's best hope to escape rhythmic slipstreams is give way. Surrender to the notes in our pulse until, winded, we come up for air. Exhume those rattling throat stones, hail dawning, curse damning through pursed lips, and breathe in mystery.
It's possible to fall
In terrible love with burning.
Into jet bile currents.
Double meters, Kalinda Bama bodies, gentle gestures to the drummer.
Following the synchronous thrums of trembling hands.
Swollen against stretched membranes.
Seduced by godless sway.
Moments forgetting Lucifer too was a beautiful musician.
After all, there's no need to bring cosmology into this.
One's best hope to escape rhythmic slipstreams is give way.
Flail limbs against walls.
Surrender to the notes in our pulse.
Exhaust both pain and pleasure.
Until winded we come up for air.
And should what swallowed us not quite kill us.
Exhume those rattling throat stones.
Balance on the fissured ashen tongue.
Hail dawning, curse damning through pursed lips.
And live in violet.
And breathe in mystery.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Era and Wes. I think that we're doing some things with screens for Laura Mullen's reading. Is that right? So, but we don't need it until 30. Oh, okay. I thought maybe I had to stall. So I don't need to stall. If we should drop the screen now, drop the screen now. No, I don't need to stall. We'll just keep it moving. I am up here to remind folks that after the reading, we're going to have an amazing reception out in the dining room. So please hang out, please stay and mingle and chat. We also have books for sale by both of our poets. So please pick up a book. Perhaps they will be agreeable to if you ask them to sign your book. Maybe no pressure, but that would okay. Yeah, they're both saying yes. They're both saying yes. So I am now really happy to welcome Rachel Zolf to the podium, who is going to introduce Laura Mullen.
That was wonderful. Thank you. It is my great pleasure to introduce my friend Laura Mullen, who is a complicated writer. And I mean that in the best way, reflected of the title of her last book, Complicated Grief. Complicate as in to fold together, from the Indo-European root plek to plate, which forms all or part of accomplice, complexion, complicity, duplicity, implicate, deploy, perplex, multiply, pliable, plight. All concepts and states and actions, I would argue, populate her complicated grief and much of her other work as well. Mullen makes writing more complex and intricate. Mullen holds space for the reader to enter and become complicit with her texts. Complicated Grief opens with a discourse on the monster, which seems such a fitting concept for Mullen's texts, how monstrosity contains both a warning and a demonstration, or demonstration, of something deviant, excessive, and uncontainable, diffusely plural and perverted, and possibly deliciously marvelous. Monstrosity is also a pointing and showing, an overexposure even, a heterogeneously generative enactment. Mullen doesn't tell us about the perplexing, replicating, pliant splay of her texts. She makes us accomplices to her plashy, pleady plight. She invites us in and shows us how to become monstrous witnesses to something truly extraordinary being revealed in and through language. She writes, quote, "The monster of us all, as in what once started can't be stopped, confessing the self to be a collage, repeated interventions momentarily normalized as narrative. In the eyes and incommensurable loneliness, essayed," close quote. Essay as in to try and fail and try again to hold the lines of language and subjectivity, narrator and reader, melancholy and mourning, then just let it all fail and fold together. You're all in for a twisted treat. Lauren Mullen is the author of 8 books: Complicated Grief, Enduring Freedom, A Little Book of Mechanical Brides, The Surface, After I Was Dead, Subject, Dark Archive, The Tales of Horror, and Murmur. Recognitions for her poetry include Ironwood's Stanford Prize and National Endowment for the Arts Fellowship and a Rona Jaffe Award. Her work has been widely anthologized, and she was the librettist for Nathan Davis's Sound Uttered, A Silence Crossed for choir and percussion, which was commissioned by the La Jolla, is that right? La Jolla? Yeah, okay. Symphony, and I'm from Canada, sorry, and chorus. She was invited to participate in the Taiwan Poetry Festival and the dialogue between Chinese and American poets. Recent poems have been published in 1111, The Nation, Interim Poetry, The Continental Review, and Lana Turner. Her translation of Veronique Pitolo's Hero was published by Black Square Editions in 2009. She is the McElveen Professor of English at Louisiana State University. Verge, an artist book made with the photographer John Davis O'Brien, is her most recent project. Please welcome Laura Mullen.
Wow, Arda, that was absolutely mind-blowingly fabulous. I am stunned and happy. And what did I do with the copy of Hero that was supposed to be up here? Is it underneath? It's under there. Thank you very much for that. And the reading glasses, which I know I pulled out. They'll get them. I'm going to start by reading very quickly from Hero, because I'd like to just give you a taste of this. It's my first translation, and yeah. All right. Am I ready? I'm ready. Thanks for being patient with me. Okay, so this is not my book, and it was just translated actually in 2019, so I'm super excited about it. It's not mine, but it's the most recent thing, and she wrote it in 1997, because she's a genius and was that far ahead of us all. Well, no one's ahead of AIREA. AIREA just blew my mind. So let me just pull this out, do this, pull this down to 5. I am on the clock. Hero, attempted definition. The hero distinguishes himself through his exploits and a remarkable courage. Legendary and mythic, he demonstrates his valor through a series of actions and difficult tests. Devoted to a cause, he will be worthy of the public esteem and glory he has won. Demigod, he must imagine something heavenly, solar, energetic, and resplendent. He faces the unknown and is never afraid. The hero is preferably living, but dead, he will be more effective. The common man, the faithful, can then identify with him and participate imaginatively in his existence. Modern heroes are known through the medium of audiovisual transmissions, radio, television, movies. Their superhumanity is visible on the screen, face enlarged, and audible thanks to an electronically filtered voice. Actor, cosmonaut, athletic, or revolutionary, young, handsome, rich, and amorous, he often belongs to the universe of the spectacle. The movies engendered these stars who became idolized heroes, objects of a public cult. Bill stops himself brusquely. He enters, stumbles over something. Muriel's shoes make 2 marks on the ground. 2 arms dangle from the bed. He catches his feet in the telephone cord. He turns around, shuts off the radio. Sounds of steps amplified on the stairs. At this instant, the hero must make a decision, seize a last chance, and prove his autonomy. The hero is the guy who's determined to find chances. The heroine wears a dark raincoat and sunglasses. A man arrives. He rests his hand on the bar stool beside her. The conversation starts up. It's 3 in the afternoon. Muriel lets things go. The world develops around her despite her. Always she leaves traces on the cigarette filters. Messages, bottles in the sea. The heroine is a body in movement before being a thought in action. From the jukebox comes a sweet melody. Jeff? I'll pass by the drugstore. I wanted to tell you how much I think of you. The man who put his hand on the bar stool was spying on her. Bill knew he was an adversary or perhaps a prospective corpse. Removing his jacket, he rolls up his sleeves, orders a martini, and brushes off fear like something embarrassing caught on his clothes. On the bar, sunglasses signal the presence of Muriel, sign of sensual delight. She leaves, heads toward the convertible, crosses the parking lot. The cafeteria was shut. The sound of brakes always brings tears to the eyes of the hero. She fixes her makeup in the rearview mirror. The form of the eyes is enough to express the complexity of the face. Think of flowers. It is crucial to arrange as many as possible in the provisional spaces. What does an intense look mean? How to defend the clumsy gestures? Jeff doesn't search for words. We recognize him in a significant detail, his way of appearing or taking on a detached air. He's always waiting for something or someone, an event, a recommendation. He follows, is followed, rarely looks behind him. We see him pass in front of luxury stores. Furthermore, he won't age. A hero doesn't age, or the actor is exchanged. World separated into islands of differentiation. Each one can see the reality with their eyes, the same gestures, identical towns and roads without borders, limitless world in precarious conversations. Too late, Muriel. Darkness prevents recognition of the face's tension. Now the screen can go down. I am extremely lucky in that I have partners in my madness. And I'm very, very ecstatic to say that Lainey Brown and Rachel Zolf and potentially Tamara, you in? Yeah. You in? Okay, all right, you're in. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a score that can be read at random at any point. Okay. You like it? I do. I love it. Thank you. I love this. Okay, great. All right, so I'm going to set this up really quickly by... Yeah, that's called cancel. That's called done. All right, I'm gonna set this up in a really crazy way by reading a poem that's in my second book, meaning it's written 100 years ago, and it's just it just somehow belongs with this. Oh, wait. There is something else. I'll just do this too, because that's fun. This is my idea of fun. All right. Yeah. I had a dream that this totally failed. Love poem. A glimpse of you, and then gone. Boxes that tick. Fling, fling. The word just, not as in fair, as in only, as in I was only the lonely. Flung, as in violently, hearts that tick, ulterior motives, you saying that to me, ulterior motives. Under a light spills, upward, billowing, in on itself, in the air as blood pulled up from a vein through a needle into another solution, spills, billowing like smoke. Layers of translucencies, then gone, or just available. Tick, tick, as though another sheer floating veil or shroud of explanation could solve it. Anything. How they get delivered. Ticking like that. I spent October 2017 in a city renowned for its pleasures, enjoying access to art, poetry, theater, literature, beauty of all kinds, toutes sortes, as the poet says, toutes sortes de fleurs, actually very curated, haute everything, the carefully selected blossoms of culture, which are, as they are now, displayed under the glass, as it were, of screening devices, armed and trained guards, a tribute not only to the probable worth of items and venue, we speak, do we not, of gatekeepers, but the evidently increasingly urgent need to examine each person attempting to gain access in order to identify and apprehend those who are willing and able to blow it all into rubble, ash, blood. Armed guards patrolled the ancient streets, and camouflage was another option for home decor. And transparency is required. For that month near the end of my 5th decade, I paused at what seemed like almost every entrance and almost opened my bag for a glance at once bored and, if not fearful, then still based on or enacting fear, reminding us of its normality while performing its neutralization. I guess I must have missed it. At the start of 2018, I made a commitment to a month-long practice, pausing and taking the guard's glance, documented as photograph, into my open purse each day before I set out. As if each day were an archive, it wasn't clear I could enter without threatening to destroy, bringing something with me knowingly or by accident, which put the institution at risk. Formerly, the fear was of what might be lost from the art museum, goods walking out the door, as an old guide to museum security puts it. I adopted these surveillance measures consciously and conscientiously. I tried to ensure that I held the opening wide exactly as I had on another continent time after time. I was still, from that experience, practiced up and at ease with the process. Wait, pause to be recognized as patron and possible threat. Move the purse off the shoulder, unzip, present, wait, rezip, and move on. When motioned to do so, these encounters are almost always wordless. Back in the USA, I did the whole thing again each day by myself, exactly as instructed, but without instruction or structure. What could be more tedious? What makes the boredom bearable is terror, and vice versa. Boredom is a pleasing antidote for fear. I don't know what happened to this day. How it vanished, unexamined, how it got past me, as we say.
Now why? Why shouldn't I wear it out? No, 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 you need to really look at it. I would like to choreograph. Perhaps I could film a dance. All of us getting up now to present our open purses. I am an open book, chanting that. I have an urge to make the openings alone for the audience. Jaws or vaginal lips. When our lips speak together. Here we come. Sound of the zipper being undone. Sound of the catch. Who seemed to barely glance in before waving the arm. Security. Who wouldn't want some?
Her father was having an affair with his best friend's wife, and he thought he would make it easier for him to have the affair with his best friend's wife if his 16-year-old daughter would fuck the father. And because his 16-year-old daughter didn't want to fuck her father's best friend, her father took her to see Freud, who tried to fix her.
Because it could happen anytime, anywhere. What violence as chance.
This is from the Dora. On some other occasion, I will publish a collection of these symptomatic acts as they
I was imagining myself writing this then. I was writing this, which is to say, I was standing again in memory at the threshold of some space I wanted to enter. Museum, most likely. The opening of my bag gaping as I presented to the eyes of the guard, or one of the guards. What she would like to do with them, namely, to masturbate. I could say that's the White House. That's Stormy Daniels. The number of locations where a bomb may be hidden are innumerable. And only the most obvious places can be searched in a reasonable amount of time. I am searched, in other words, only so that they can justify searching someone else. And in that way, I stand in the place of the terrorist, a stunt double, or maybe a dressmaker's dummy, a shape to which a certain garment might be fitted, though it is made for someone else. But then, as it is now, on me, now why?
He may have had in the world of explosives, many made for deactivation. Only trained demolitions
In
experts
1975, the
are
artist Carol
qualified
Schneemann
to.
does interior scroll.
Bombs are
She reads a long poem which she
extremely
pulls out of her
complicated.
vagina.
Designed to
This is,
explode
as you can tell, an
on any
homage
attempt made
to that
for
amazing piece.
deactivation. Only trained demolitions experts are qualified to
who wouldn't want some?
Oh.
Wired to light up for certainty. The only certainty is this literal gatekeeping, who seemed to barely glance in before waving me on.
It is the silence of her mother.
No, 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 no. You need to really look at it.
Were of the time mechanism variety. The timing devices are usually cheap alarm clocks which can be heard ticking at surprising distances. Be on the alert for ticking sounds.
To make sure it isn't going to blow up.
Searches were usually found near
To make sure that everything stays intact.
closely in areas
To make sure
doorways.
I don't incinerate the carefully archived, treasured, durable past. To make sure it isn't going to explode in your face.
Thoroughly check any areas which are accessible to the public.
To make sure I'm not in the service of a hostile foreign power, I mean like the president.
I grew up with addiction, also minor, alcoholism. I grew up with so much extraordinary self-distrust. I carry it into the world. I check myself at every moment. I, as a surveillance site, poetry, a security protocol, encryption ensures a message that is free to take the form of a complex whose symptoms invite or require scrutiny. Thank you. Okay. According to this, I have 5 minutes, which means I'm going to do something radically crazy and quickly read a couple of poems from the new project. Okay, so the project is called Etc. or ETC actually. It could be an acronym. And a door ajar. Is barn or barred. To hear in here is ha, is an open unshut case for care. What comes when everything is gone long, says gate is too late, wait, just shut it, then shut it again, hard. In this empty stable, shit is the only sign we were ever born or bored. What I heard was, that's not what I heard. Mistress of the West, stubborn residue of the Egyptian goddess Hathor and the golden calf, well mixed with a host of other Kamo deities, Elsie the Sea, 1936, is the bright face and beloved mascot for an unnamed dairy company. She burst forth from the gathering clouds as a way of keeping an embodied origin and with it a myth of purity in place at the start of the heavy-duty industrialization of America's food supply. She is still used to sell us things we like to eat. What else do you need? She was married early, and the image of her husband's horned head adorns the plastic bottles of an oft-used adhesive produced by the chemical division of that same unnamed company. Blessed be his name and the names of their offspring. Elsie has many degrees, including Doctor of Bovinity, Human Kindness, and Economics, and she's Queen of Dairyland as well as an honorary chief of the Seneca people, who were not, in fact, the first suffragettes, as you might be thinking. Understandably, mistakenly. In 1952, she was more easily recognized than many celebrities, including a presidential candidate, her father Art in the land of the dead, whose realms, in those realms, reserved for advertising. The imaginary begins in the real, or the consensually recognized, but flees for reasons we may or may not know, to be exiled, nomad, cosmopolitan, refugee, not expat. Exactly, not that timid and judgmental, estranged, yes, but desperately. I'm not fresh. I'm a guarantee of freshness. There's a difference, Elsie explains to us. In the emergency meeting, she calls to watch us discuss what she refers to as our problems, reductions in market share, and the need for strategic initiatives to be instituted ASAP. And stop all this copying now, sooner than now, yesterday if possible, she snaps bossy cow. Someone in the back lisps bith. In the deserted diary building, those being milked by the newly invented machines slide past on the rotary parlor, which begins to turn more quickly until out of the blur the numbered years come flying toward us on bits of torn paper, just like in a movie. And then there's a voiceover insisting that the supply chain is free of animal cruelty. The animals appearing in this documentary, a male voice says clearly, are not cruel at all. Trust me. Thank you. Lady Rachel Era. Wow.
Thank you so much to Era and to Laura. Let me give them one more round of applause before we move to the reception and books. Thanks everybody for coming.